welcome back to episode 2 of episode 3, the Revenge of the Sith review. So, we're going to get into, obviously, the fight with General Grievous and into, obviously, more of the film. So, if you would like to continue from where we left off, my guy.
Yeah. One thing I think this is probably a good mindset of things. Do you think Mace was being an absolute knob to Anakin when he didn't give him the rank of master? We got, it's got to be said. It's a thing of 1,000 memes, isn't it? As well.
Yeah, and no, because I think as much as we all love Anakin, he was a brat. Let's be honest. As much as he's like, and the chosen, but he's like, yeah, okay, you're the chosen one, but shut up about it. You know what I mean? It's like, you are the chosen one. Yes, you didn't get the rank of master, understandable, but I don't think that. I think more than anything, because of Samuel L. Jackson's sass of how he played them lines, it may have come across as he was being harsher than everyone else. But anyone else on the council, they couldn't even be asked to even address it. They were just like, nope. That was more disrespectful. At least he gave him a reason of why he wouldn't be on it. The rest of them were like, you don't get to sit at this table. It's just like, okay, sorry.
He's the only one who's like the most direct, isn't it? All the rest of the Jedis, when we hear them speak, are very, they've got, thoughtful. Yeah. They have an insight of what they're saying. Mace says, you take a seat, young Skywalker.
Yeah. I also think it's the dogmaticness of the Jedi, of kind of like how everything was an absolute, and as they say, Jedi's, only Sith deal in absolutes, but so were the Jedi's, to be fair. They were like, Anakin, you're not going. And Anakin was just like, I don't really care. I'm going to do what I want to do. But yeah, I'll stay where you tell me to stay, because that's always worked in the past. So I think more than anything, like, okay, Mace Windu could have probably worded it in a better way. Would that have been true to the character of Mace Windu? No. So
no, it's not. I still think it's weird. Like, you've got at the moment it's General Kenobi and he's got this. I suppose he's battle scars. But why wouldn't you say you both can go? If he is there, you're going to need backup of. You're going to have a whole Confederate army behind him.
Kenobi was known to be the negotiator Jedi.
Yeah.
He was never known to be this amazing lightsaber duelist. His defensive style is the particular reason why he chose it, because he wasn't very strong as a combatant. But obviously one of the biggest and strongest traits of Kenobi is, as much as he failed and was very lowly ranked as a Jedi, because he took so much time in studying something, that's why they said like his defensive stats when it comes to the point of being impenetrable, But if you take Anakin, aka Mr. Boy Wonder, all right, that's in Clone Wars, but in other effects in the films, has this amazing look, has a very good ability with a lightsaber. It's like, right, you can do the talking while he does the slashing. That's like the best negotiation. Like, that is literally aggressive negotiation. It's like, I will deal with the aggressive part. You go and negotiate.
But it doesn't even this is why I find it, because he's known as a negotiator, but he doesn't even try to negotiate with Grievous. It's literally takes off his Jedi robe, jumps down. Yeah, we get the hello there, but then you're instantly into a fight. You've not even gone. Look, let's talk about this.
That was all initialized by Kenobi. Because if you say that, right, let's look at it as it was. He didn't draw his lightsaber. He drops down and he just very friendly goes, hello there. And I'm like, I'm going to kill you. And then all of a sudden he was like, well, I must defend myself. So I think he didn't. It's not like he would have done what Anakin would have done previously in Last of Us. No, I'm going to take him now. You can see him running at General Grievous and just extending 4 blades.
But you do. I look. Yeah, that episode. It's a way of them getting Kenobi out of the way for Order 66, but it also has one of the worst vehicles known to probably anybody's logic is Grievous's wheeled thing. What's got legs? Well, it's a weird vehicle.
I call that a bug penny farthing, because that's the closest you can think of anything that it could be. Or one of them Tron bikes.
Yeah, it is. It's the most. It's like, hold it. So it's got a wheel. That's its main shell, but it's also got 2 legs. And you're like, what is going on here? It's just That's.
I think
A
it
bit,
was designed for him because did you see the very strange way that he mounted it? He didn't do like
yeah.
what a normal person would do, be like, I just put one leg over it. He's like, no, I'm going to break my back. I'm just like, spider leg this.
Well, this whole scenes are like it's just full CGI. Like even if you see, I say behind the scenes of Ewan McGregor, right? Like that's what you got to do, and he's just doing this. He like you're gonna jump now.
He's like the big lizard gets shot now, and he's like,
yeah. What are you doing? You're climbing onto this big lizard creature. Okay,
it's looked you in the face. And just trying to have into, but then that speaks to the strength of the actors to be able to make that look.
Well, I said how hard it was. It was one of the first movie that you did walk into a green room, and that was it, and you got told what was there. It's even to like the offices, there was no practical at all, really. Like from the last one to this one.
What did you think of the chase scene with Kenobi on his big lizard chasing down Grievous on his space penny father?
It should have been more epic because the creature he's on kind of does a vertical like down the slope, doesn't it? Down this thing, and it would have been good to show me, like it's like a cavern, isn't it? I suppose like that. It would have been good to see it got down to the bottom.
Do you know what I would have liked them to add in as well? Like maybe like a rock or something is going to hit the lizard, then like Kenobi uses to like move it out of the way, or like and also the force link that Jedis and obviously Sith had with creatures and abilities, like and creatures and aliens and stuff. It would have been nice to like see a bit more of a connection in that sense, because I know like we don't know where this space lizard comes from. He just acquired it. He's like, space lizard, come here, and he's like, what? And I kind of
Uber lizard, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. he just turns up and he's like, yeah, you're cool. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you can jump on the back if you want. And then they're just off doing what they need to do. And it would have been nice to see like maybe a bit more.
But it gets broke, doesn't it? Because the next bit is because they get told, oh, Kenobi has engaged Grievous. I can't remember what clone says it, but then it jumps. So then, is it Mace tells Anakin to go speak to the Palpatine to see what his intentions are.
See what his intentions are, then to stay in the Jedi Council afterwards.
He goes there, doesn't it? And then that's the reveal. Of like, oh, I am the Sith Lord, let me teach you, and then he actually says, I can I always found it's a weird line when he tells him that I can save your wife, and like, oh, how does he know this?
I think that was like the biggest thing that made us all realize, like, you've literally been giving him these nightmares. If you can describe his nightmare without us seeing on screen him say to you, I have nightmares about my mother dying, and I have nightmares about my love interest I haven't told anyone about, that I'm now married to, who's apparently pregnant, potentially dying, and all. So it didn't make any sense as a film, canon wise, to look at that, because the only thing that leads you into believing is like he is something to do with him having these visions that he's having, and how. But then you can also see the frustration in Anakin's face the second he says that. Because the second he says that, you see how his face literally just changes. It's like, So I think they could have expanded upon that a little bit more, because they even with that, left that conversation initially open to him then ask, like, how do you know that? Because even if he just asked that one question, that then leads into a big plethora of other things that could have come.
Oh, yes, yeah. Because then they just jump. It goes from that, and then you jump into like how uncivilized, like on a blaster, and like that. So Grievous, then you're like, oh, there's not much. If you actually think about it, Grievous doesn't actually, well, taking out the Clone Wars, of course, doesn't get much screen time. He's there. Oh, you've hunted him down.
He's there. He arrives. He captures the Chancellor. He's on the ship. He gets off the ship because he evacuates. Gets out. Then you see him again. Then obviously there's a chase scene. Then there's the fight scene that we're going to get into in a minute with Kenobi and obviously him. And as you said, how uncivilized with the blaster, which I think that was a fitting end for Grievous. no offense to him, but I don't feel like he just deserved to die by a lightsaber, because he was just kind of like inserted and put in there. That the comedic way that he died was probably the better route to go, because there was no point of giving him a long fleshed out death when it's like, okay, back to Anakin.
Yeah.
You know,
it is, yeah. Well, then, yeah, it's now we get to the and everything's starting to drop, isn't it? You're built. It's the build up now, because then you get Mace says, "Well, we're going to go there. You've got to stay here," and then it has this.
but
really...
he says a very important line about, if you stay here and you are proven to be true, you will reignite my trust in you, or something along.
Yeah, like you've gained my trust. So
you've gained my trust. Yeah, you would have gained my trust. And that he says something like, "Oh, you're too connected to him to be able to go there," or just something under them sort of the lines. How do you feel?
How did you feel? Oh God, yeah, I was going to say that. How do you feel about all the other Jedi dying so quick?
You literally just took the words from my mouth. I was just about to say, how did you feel about them being dispatched that quickly? But right. One thing that annoyed me, it didn't annoy me, but we've only seen it used once, is the Sith Scream ability that he uses. It's never been used prior to that by any other Sith acolytes or anybody showing any sort of remnants of the dark side. But then also they did a similar trope in episode 1 where they used force speed to run down that corridor. Never used it again, because saved a lot of lives and people and limbs by using that, but that didn't happen. So I feel like that fight should have been maybe dragged out a bit longer, but due to the fact that the runtime of episode 3 is like 2 hours and 45 minutes, I feel
but like even if that whole scene before he cut down the first 2 very easy is like make it a minute, literally a back and forth from literally a minute. Literally, he dispatches, like, even if like when he did the scream or something, he did like a push to make it more drastic, so they all went against the wall. You know, they all got pinned back. It would have been thing, could it all of a sudden now you're into Mace, you know, getting, I suppose, depends on what version of George Lucas is in the mode. Did he let him win or not let him win?
That's my next question. Who won? Did Mace Windu win that fight, or did the Chancellor Palpatine? Well, I say Chancellor Palpatine. Did the Emperor win that fight?
To me,
take away Anakin.
Yeah, I would say Mace won it. Yeah,
he was the strongest.
He was known to be so tapped into, that partial.
And then Plo Koon. They were they were listed at that time in canon. Not now. I don't know about now, but at the time they were like, if you wanted to talk duelist, not force abilities, but duelist with a lightsaber, Mace Windu and Plo Koon were the only 2 who could use Vapor. I believe there was other users, but that's not canon. But and that obviously slightly taps into the dark side, because you use the emotions and feelings of your opponent against yourself. That's why Vapor wasn't that effective against Anakin, because how can you really battle someone? And to be fair, he didn't even get to fight it, because he just went, let me take you around. But that's something I've always wanted to see, and obviously we'll never get to see that, but I would have loved to have seen Mace Windu and Anakin, or even Darth Vader, but obviously we don't know if he's alive or not, because there was no body that was recovered, guys, so we can't say it. You know, he could have like become like Terminator Mace Windu or something, or L3 Windu.
He's, I suppose you would have to say it's a death, but it was just because he went through all that and he got the upper hand, and then it's just lightning. In
the era of Disney and the Emperor coming back, I don't believe anyone's dead until I see it, my friend. Because this is like, we thought this was got to the point where it was, and then all of a sudden it's just like, no, I didn't die. It's like, right, okay, so if you didn't die, how many people didn't die?
Well, we're going to get a clone of Mace and he's back to himself, but dark side.
How do you feel about the double-edged sword that we all feel like it's okay that Darth Maul didn't die, but the fact that Palpatine fell down a shaft and then came back, and everyone's a bit like, ugh.
No, it's just bad writing, isn't it? It was I know we're jumping a few movies ahead, but that whole, I think they lost a lot of the fans with The Last Jedi, and I think they needed something nostalgic, but because of it's not a setup. Ryan Johnson's movie didn't set up for anything. It just it could have ended. That could have been the
Yeah.
last of the movie. That could have, so
It was like a standalone film.
yeah, it was. So it didn't set anything up. It didn't give you any pieces of the puzzle to unravel. So they needed something, and then somebody at Disney went, "I know, a really stupid idea," and yeah, okay.
Add in
If
lots
you're
of
gonna play on it, you've got to play on that from
that's your only trope. So you're
number 7. It had to be there, like that dark. I know they're introducing the Mandalorian about the cloning, but it's not in the movies. I don't care what you did after. Yeah, I don't mind the cloning bits in the Mandalorian, and even in the Bad Batch, they're talking about it to make sense of something that didn't make sense with. If they ran with it in the Force Awakens, and they even to the point they walked into a derelict cloning facility, you know, the remnants of Starkiller, but it would have been, something, but it wasn't anything. So that's the problem there. You can't have something with nothing and then introduce a lot. And it just doesn't work, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't know. They
Yeah.
just played on that trope. But anyways, back to Revenge of the Sith. So obviously, Kenobi and Grievous's duel. Do you feel like that was a befitting end for him?
Yeah, it again, it just, it was just there to get Kenobi off planet, so he's nowhere at near anybody of who is going to be of importance in the Order 66, because after that, the fight scene with Mace is literally.
Also, I believe if Kenobi was still with Anakin at the time of all of that going on, as much as like he was obviously falling to the dark side, I don't think he would have gone to see the Emperor.
No.
He would have confided in Obi-Wan, and then he would have tried to talk him back.
Yeah, because there's a whole thing. He's like they're all separate. He's looking out the window like at the temple, and then Padme's on her own. She's with C-3PO, isn't she? So they're all kind of on their, like, they're individual. He's got nobody to go, like, there's something wrong.
There's no one to
I'm the bit in this, but there's nobody to confine in. And
and
it's
being
just
a character that is very family oriented, being taken from his mother, and then like his new family essentially becomes the Jedi and Padme to it. I know before he's with her, but she kind of his family to an extent, because all he knew was his mother, and then they take him, and it's Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Padme. Obviously, Qui-Gon meets his end in Phantom Menace, and it's just Padme and Obi-Wan, and they're so pinnacle to who essentially Anakin is as a character, because the influences of them, you get a different version of Anakin when he's with them. So yeah, I agree with your point, man. It's a good point.
Yeah. Is it like I suppose we have to go to Order 66 now. It's difficult for probably me and you to get away our head that it's done well. Now I'm going to hold it here because we've seen the Clone Wars, and it introduces very heavily in the Clone Wars that there is a chip. We know there's a chip there, and it tells you all about that, and we get really delve into it. But if you take that out, and then you get just execute Order 66, you don't know what is that, just an order?
A little bit, because
there's no manipulate. There's no manipulation of the clones.
So in Attack of the Clones, we find out a little bit of information regarding the inhibitor chip. But if you hadn't watched Clone Wars, and not even, I won't put everything on Clone Wars, because there is the Revenge of the Sith novelization that you can read that delves into more and talk about it. There is other forms of media. But if you are a normie, should we say, or someone who's just gonna just watches the big budget movies, it does seem like all of a sudden he just goes execute Order 66, and everyone goes, I'm going to kill Jedi now. So it did feel like a very mad switch up of the movie of, like, once again, as I was saying earlier on, start of the film is light, then it starts to get dark, then straight away that happens, and it's like, right, we're now gonna massacre Jedi, there's a big war, even bigger than the Attack of the Clones and bigger than the initial space war that's going on. Now we're gonna watch the Senate be destroyed, and it just delves into the darkest levels of Coruscant that you've ever seen.
But Order 66, do you think it was done well, or did you want to see massacre?
I wanted to see two things in total. I wanted to, this is going to sound really horrible, I wanted to see the PTSD of it happen to a clone. I wanted to see them be there and kind of like, now I don't want to ruin any other medias for anyone else, but like in Clone Wars, like for example, Fives, for example, like some of the I wanted to see a clone literally be stood next to a Jedi Master, and they just start shaking and they're looking at them and they're like, and maybe we get like a little inner monologue or something of the Palpatine's voice in their head going execute just over and over and over again. They just, and then you see them turn, because I feel like that initially for 30 seconds would have made more of an impact of making not like people who haven't looked so much into Star Wars understand the psychological effect of what this is done, because it's done so plain cut as in execute order 66, and then we didn't get to see as much of like the tyranny that was going on in the galaxy. Yes, we got to see, you know, the execution of what was happening on Geonosis and Felucia and other planets and whatnot, but we literally got, how I personally feel, like a slideshow of what was going on in the galaxy, and then it was straight back to what was happening. So I think maybe that comes down to runtime, because they couldn't really delve too far away from Anakin as much as it was execute order 66. It was like, yeah, all these Jedis are gonna pass, but most of the ones that passed, no disrespect to them, they didn't go on to become legends. They may have been legends in their own right up until that point, but do you know what I mean? So I feel like we should have had, you know, there were some tear-jerking moments, obviously, the younglings, you know, there was some moments where you got to see Anakin delve a bit darker, but yeah, I agree, man. I feel like personally, it should have been more of a massacre, and we should have seen more of the psychological.
I don't feel like, I know, like, I don't think you need to see blood and guts, like the bits where they.
I don't mean that.
Like the scenes where it all slows down, and they're showing the clones like take out Jedi, you know, the main Jedi that you see in the temple. But I think that scene, and it is a bit of a like a heartfelt scene, but that should have been everybody's crying, and it would have been great, because the only one we get related to on this one is Cody, really, like, as because he reveals himself and he gets spoken to. But there's no, it would have been good to have, you know, that struggle, and you do get it in the last season of Clone Wars, again, that struggle with Rex. You know, he could pull, and it would have been great to see that, but it would have been great to see it with Cody, maybe, or another code, to get that pull. You're right, you know, like they're getting torn apart. They're, you know, there was no, this is an implant, and we, you know,
instant change.
You can't do it. In other words, they're doing it, but they don't want to do it, and they're tearing up inside.
And the thing with the clones as well, obviously, like, I don't want to. I feel like I feel like in all these episodes, I sound like a massive fanboy of Clone Wars, because obviously in the movies, they can't really delve too much into giving individuality into clones. There's only so much you can show in one film before you start taking away from the initial part of what's going on. We didn't get to see any individuality in any clones in episode 1, 2, or 3. Not like we heard Commander Cody's name. I know it was said a couple of times by Kenobi, but there was no sort of individuality apart from you know, that was literally it. So because of that, it was hard to have an attachment to the clone. So I guess it kind of made it believable that they could just very easily just switch and just because they were looked at as droids. Let's not be coy about it. The only reason why you could empathize with them a bit more when they died is because they look like a human. If they didn't look, if they look like a spider, you wouldn't empathize with. You'd be like, yeah, great.
I'm not saying it's probably there is probably a fan film out there. Would it be great to, you know, to have, you know, like a very First World War in the trenches? You're got only a couple of clones that are like bedded down. They've literally to the last man, and it would have like given that human element to them, because at the moment they're more robotic looking than the stormtroopers are when in the OT. You know, they don't have, you know,
I think that's the only thing
with the
I
other
would say with Star Wars when it comes to the space battle fight scene. They're beautiful to watch, and I love the visual effects, but a lot of them, apart from like the Death Star blowing up and whatever else, but like, for example, you know, in episode 1, I know we go back a couple of episodes, I love the battle with the Gungans. I love that battle, but it felt like it had no risks, because apart from the Gungans, you know, and the droids, we didn't care about these people. And then when there was the Clone Wars, you didn't care about droids and clones, because they're not like, as much as they are clones, they are people and they're a clone of a person. They don't have individuality apart from like, yes, I changed my armor plates and I'm good at using a rifle and I'm this particular specialist or whatnot. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, there's no intensity. I know it's going to go like a bit darker, but if you've seen Game of Thrones, the Battle of the Bastards one, where it's all enclosed, but you don't know whose side you're on, but the heartfelt of them being crushed, you know, and they're being battled, like scarred, and them getting empowered. But on both sides is like, because it's flesh and blood. It's, you know, you've got that. If you had that exactly kind of similar scene, you put droids in, you're killing a droid. Yeah, it's just a bit okay. Maybe he did that on purpose. So when, of course, the Anakin, now Vader, takes on Kenobi, it's, you know, it's more of a this is blood on blood kind of, you know, that kind of, you know, is the battle of the heroes. Is, you know, but you know, is very that kind of moment. Maybe he was too clever for us.
To the most pinnacle fight of the whole episode. Kenobi versus Anakin, obviously not Vader at that moment in time. Did it live up to your expectations? Was it what you wanted to see? Do you think it could have been done better? Was there something, you know, you feel?
Now, I loved it, I must say that. And I got the, you know, the when he chokes out Padme and what that impact is through and her death. And then that I loved it how they mirrored each other. It's because, you know, they've been training, like, that it's master and apprentice, isn't it? Yeah, you know, like they've literally, I will teach you my moves, and of course Anakin's going to brush off new moves, but Kenobi is going to witness that, and they've been fighting. So that whole, you know, even when they're doing the false push and they've mirrored each other, like literally. I think it's brilliant. I really liked it.
The symmetry of that fight was beautiful.
Yeah.
I also liked the fact that because they were both using blue lightsabers, and obviously he was turning at that moment in time, it felt like a Jedi fighting a dark Jedi. You know what I mean? Because he had he was fighting for the duality of him falling to the dark side, or essentially in Kenobi's mind, him potentially finding a way to redeem him, you know, from the fate that he's like, you know, pushed upon himself.
Well, it's even, it gives him, like, at the end you can see the heartbreak in Kenobi, and it's like I say, Ewan McGregor, the whole scene of that is dived dark into it, because when he gets the high ground, and a lot of the memes on that, but he gives Anakin an out. You've got an out, you know, I've got the high ground, you don't have to do this. And it's his moment of there, he could have got redemption, but he's so drawn into, what have you just done to my love and to the galaxy and all this, you know, it's your fault. He's so dived into this. It's just every time it rips me, because I'm just wanting to, like, go, you know, just you know, like that. It is, even every time I see it, I know what the outcome is, and it gets me every time. I'm like, just don't do it. Why are you doing it? And then it was sad.
I think that scene will always play out everyone, and I think more than anything, you know, the biggest downfall of that whole fight was the cockiness and arrogance of the chosen one at that moment in time. Thinking that,
well, it is, and I think it's probably a harder impact on your age group, because you are the age of Anakin. You have been brought up with Anakin.
Right, so now we can talk about it. So obviously you're from the generation of, obviously Luke. Luke is your poster boy, and that's it. No, he's not your poster boy, but like, you grew up.
Mine was Obi-Wan. This is going to tell a story.
Okay.
I have to. No. This is why. I was always Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it's okay. I got brought up on the Ealing comedies, Sir Alec Guinness. But the reason why I loved him so much is because of my cousin. Now, why? Is because my cousin used to belabor the toys, and he was Luke, because he was 3 years older than me. His mate was Han Solo. So it was either that, or I had to be Chewie or Leia. So
you didn't want to be Chewie. So you didn't want to be Leia.
I get like a bow. I don't want a bow. I want a lightsaber. So it played as Kenobi. So I had the lightsaber. So that is the reason why. And then I've just got drawn into it. You know, like, you know, once you do that, I suppose as young, imprints
they
on you,
say
I suppose.
young minds are impressionable and your mind
Yeah.
is like a sponge at a young age. You just kind of soak and take things in. So maybe you loved it that much at a young age. You're like, yeah, Kenobi's my guy. I love this.
Yeah. So like, yeah, it just
Let's go.
imprinted on me like that. So yeah, it just became it was my
You must
favorite.
have
Always been.
you must have loved obviously reviewing Kenobi and watching, you know, the recent series and everything that was going on. I think more than anything though, for me, because of being obviously from slightly younger generation, the prequels, like Anakin's my guy, and it chokes me up every single time I see him become Darth Vader. You know, and I put myself through all this pain by watching like the last season of the Clone Wars and all these other, like, even with Kenobi, I was like, oh, maybe we're gonna have some sort of moment where he turns, like, you know, we had like 5 seconds of him like think he's like, yeah, I used to be a Jedi, yeah, screw that. Yeah. So it always plays on me because
so what did you think then? Because you know you're getting the death scene of Padme, and a lot of people hit that of like, oh, she died of a broken heart. And I've got a different take on it. I think I did like an hour on it on one of my videos about the reason, but like it wasn't, you know, it was a broken heart, but it was still the hold of Anakin still killing her, and that's how I perceived it. Always did. You know, he's still, you know, his hatred is killing her. It's they can't find a medical reason for it. It's because it's the Force killing her.
I can understand
so you get
that, but I also feel like Palpatine was at play.
Could have been,
I feel like, you know, as you said, with Palpatine, things played, you know, as he said, like with the whole like your wife dying and whatever else before that was even said. I feel like there was a lot of ideas, because this wasn't the original draft of Revenge of the Sith. There was, you know, revisions made prior to that by George and whatnot. I feel like some of the older revenances of what this film could have been were left in this movie. I feel like that was a different plot, and maybe we would have found out that he manipulated the midichlorians or something within her. I know everyone hates midichlorians and everyone's going to hate me for saying that, but I'm sorry, they're part of Star Wars. They exist in the canon. I feel like he probably manipulated midichlorians, and I don't. It sounds really sick and twisted, but maybe he did something on them sort of lines because he thought,
that could have been in.
How do I encapture Vader to always be in rage? I will take the one thing that he loves. So if I take his wife and I don't tell him of his children, and I think he's
because you can actually play on that when he actually, you know, you get the mask on Vader and he comes out and he goes, "Where is she?" And he goes, "In your rage, you killed her." And then he gets even angry. He could have been that, you know, manipulating even more to kill him.
But
like that.
Okay, so after he says that, the initial look on Palpatine's face,
it's smirking time.
Look of like, I have got you entranced in rage at all times. Like, you're literally like my hellhound. I just go and destroy this part of the galaxy. Padme might be there. I'm on my way. So I feel like Palpatine was definitely at play, and if Palpatine wasn't at play, then I can understand how Padme could have died essentially from a broken heart due to the Force, because that's happened several times where they've like, it's impossible, this can't happen. And we're like, yeah, you can't measure the Force, you can't get like a ghost detector for the Force. All the Force is by here, like you can't measure it. So they're the only two logical answers for me. But I have always felt like, even though it's not,
who are you gonna call Force detectors?
I'm going to coin Force detectors, guys. If you want to see if
that'd be great. I want to do like Planet. Literally Ghostbusters, but actual like Force Busters.
Yeah. I just go around and I just have like, I don't know, I'll have like a prong or something, and I just be walking around Somerset, like tapping things like, the Force is strong here. You know what? Yeah, you got Force thumb there. I need to dig it. What? Right. Anyways, guys, we've got 6 minutes left in this one, so we will be back in part 3 to finish this off. So see you all in a minute. Thank you all for watching, and catch you all in part 3.